And in business, I find people take things really personally, but it's the same. Everyone's trying to get to point A first.
Cool. Who's got another question? Okay, yeah, in the corner. Well, let's go to Tom right there. Tom's right there, and then we'll come around and then another microphone in the front.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tom. I've only ever watched one World Cup in 2003, so I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. So my question is, say someone like Delalio knocks you flat on your face, how do you get back up from that? And I say it with jest, but if you've been knocked down and you're in the thick of a game, what do you do for yourself, but what do you also do with your team to get them back up and get them going again?
Good question.
It's you know what? It's pretty cool is that it's so different. Like it's one of the big differences that I found as well between sport and business is that, you know, I got smashed many times, to be fair. And sometimes it was even by my own teammates playing provincially against each other. And guys that I won a World Cup with would give me a good smack during a local derby. But it's the other thing is that it's how you handle getting knocked down, because every single one of us gets knocked down or gets smacked or gets cleaned up somewhere. And in rugby, it's probably the wrong place to learn about it, because it does happen often. And if you stay down, I don't know, maybe I'm talking to the wrong crowd here, but I think it's the key difference between why there's very few rugby people that are massive football fans, because of how the guys stay down and the kind of sort of scene that they make. Whereas you're going to get smacked. Take your medicine and get up and shake it off. And the best thing with rugby players is that they try and pretend, even though your head is ringing, you don't know what comes after two. There go the hottie guys. You don't know what's going on. You have to pretend like this guy had no effect on your life. Whereas in business, like I just found, like, people would get so sensitive about other businesses trying to get an advantage. But I mean, it's competition. Again, let's also put it this way: being smacked down is not exactly legal in rugby, but it's sort of, and it doesn't happen as much as it used to. But in business, everyone out there is trying to find a way. And if you spend your time getting irritated by someone who's taking a pot shot and is beating you to a certain mark, you've reacted badly to that shot. You've got to figure out how to get around that. Figure out how to make that competitor realize that it's had absolutely no influence. You haven't even spoken about them, and you've got something else on the go. And that's sort of what being smacked down and just getting straight up and showing your team, I'm good, showing the opposition that it's had no influence, and then moving on. And in business, I find people take things really personally, but it's the same. Everyone's trying to get to point A first.
Great. I think just to segue to that, I think it's also, as a leader, it's also your cross to bear in some way, shape or form, that sometimes you have to hold the fort. And not always, like in rugby, we call just get up and walk it off and run it off. But in business, I think sometimes, like, not bringing the drama into the practice, not bringing quite all your drama into the practice, that's your cross to bear as a leader, is that you have to hold that space so other people can do other things, which is important for the business to run, but you might have other levels of stress. And often people say to me, Ryan, but I want to be like you. I don't want to have like all the challenges or all the stuff of everyday running of the practice. And I say, well, be careful what you wish for, because the challenges don't get less, they only get bigger and more. They're just different challenges. Every level has a new devil. So just a segue for John said there. Great question. All right, awesome. How many guys learned something pretty cool from John Smit? Okay, ask a question? Okay, let's take one more question. I think John does have a little time limit, but we'll finish squeezing one more. Go for it.
Hey, John, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything that you have a ritual for or a habit for that you find either massively motivates yourself or your team? Do you have any strategies for getting people straight in the zone straight away?
That's a really cool question, because the things I'm going to tell you, you're going to laugh at. So, I mean, rituals, superstitions, call them what you like. I always used to have spaghetti bolognese on a Friday night. I always used to warm up my left-hand side first. I always used to wear black underpants. And what was the other thing that my wife used? In fact, I left my black underpants once behind, and we just couldn't make a plan. So rather than jinx it, I went commando for a test match. It didn't turn out well. But to get in the zone, for me, I don't know if this crowd will know a guy. He played for the Springboks at Fly Off, Henry Honeyball. He was a soft-spoken warrior, and he spoke through his actions. To be fair, he didn't speak a lot of English, which is probably why he was so quiet. And he once said to me as a youngster, and that was where I was lucky. As a youngster, I was in the Sharks team, and I was treated really well. Every single guy took time and effort to mentor me there, and I'll never forget Henry Honeyball, who was this legend of the game. He would sit there and with his sort of elbows on his knees, and he'd look around, and I was sitting next to him in the change room, and he just said to me, he said, you can sense it. So I said, what do you mean? He says, no, you can sense the vibe. It's like a smoke that you can't see that comes underneath the door of the change room, and there's an intensity around the group that everyone understands and everyone's in sync with. But he says, when that smoke hasn't come in, and how you create that smoke is up to your week, how you lead up in your week of preparation, how the captain's talking, how the coach is talking, but all of that, all those little things around your preparation, your rituals, creates the smoke that comes in, that puts this intensity, that puts people in the zone. And if I could figure out and write a book on how to get that formula right, to get that smoke in under the door, into the change room, into my business, we would be living on an island somewhere. Very, very cool.
Oh, that's
Thank you
cool.
so much.
So, listen, did you guys have a good time with John?
Yeah.
Cool. So, John, thank you so much for your time today. I know that things are pretty hectic there in South Africa, and you're at the forefront of it all. John's in security, so he said to me he doesn't have when I spoke to John during the week, he said not a single vehicle, firearm, or personnel he's got left in the business in any way, shape, or form in a country that's like desperately looking for security. So thank you for making the time for us today. Just brilliant. I learned so much, and it was an honor and a pleasure to have you on today. And I'm looking forward to our next lunch in Pretoria, and where we can chat about some of these things. And I actually joked with John once. I said, what if we said to the audience that they can come on safari with myself and John Smit for 2 days? How many of you would do it? John, just putting John on the spot here a little bit. I hadn't spoken to him about this yet.
My hands up.
Okay, cool. But anyway,
I gotta say thank you, and also gotta say I apologize for the dogs, the kids, the hotties, but we are all locked down still. So it's wonderful to see you guys out and living reasonably normal lives, but we're still locked down. So this is from the patio of my house, and so we've got Mr. Delivery delivering food because people don't want to go outside because of the safety issues. We've got kids riding their bikes, so the hottie does. I apologize for the background effects.
No, that's awesome. John, thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to seeing you as a sport pundit, like we always get to watch you, and your continued wisdom in that field. And thank you so much for making time. This was absolutely brilliant. Everybody, please give John Smit a huge round of applause!